listening to the Recovered Life Show.
Now, Kristina, it's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, by the way.
Yes, you too.
You know, talk about perfectionism. Expectation, it's just like, it's crazy, the expectation that you have. And then this interpretation of love. And I know, look, we've interviewed you a lot on the Recovered Life Show, and you are a codependency expert.
Yes.
That's what you do day to day, right?
Yes.
And this whole thing with Machine Gun Kelly, and you got to set this up, because when I saw this, I texted you, I was sick in bed, and I was like going, this is real? Absolutely insane. This cannot be real that this happened. So please tell people what's going on with this.
Well, first of all, I do want to say, for Machine Gun Kelly's sake, this is not the first time that we've seen this before. Our world has revels in this kind of make-believe fantasy type relationship. And what was printed borders on obsession. And this is not the first time I've seen this. There's Jerry Maguire, You Complete Me. That is codependency at its finest. And that was like the line. And I've heard it all over since then, right? It's become a catch line. The other one is I took my 13-year-old friend's daughter to the Twilight series, right? And this is pre-teen. They are going after these type of people. And the first one, there was a line in there where the main vampire character, Edward, talked to Kristen Stewart's character, and he said, you are like heroin to me. And I remember listening to it and cringing and thinking, no, this is all wrong. Now, that wasn't the way I always felt, but I felt like that now, with some recovery in my belt. And when I left, my 13-year-old companion said, isn't that the most romantic line you've ever heard? Oh my gosh. And I tried to talk to her about obsession versus love, and she wasn't having any of it. So I'm really glad that you are bringing this up, because now we see it, 2022, this story about, yes, like you're putting out, Machine Gun is love pain. No, it is not pain.
And just to set it up, he got a ring. And you know what? Maybe what we should do is we should show this clip. We've got a great clip from Entertainment Tonight. I think it's ET Canada, so I want to give the proper credit to that, right? Okay. And let me see if I could show this on the stream here, because this sets up exactly what he said, because, I couldn't believe it, to be honest with you. So I went to the tweet, I saw this interview, and I was a bit shocked, to be honest. So let's check out this segment real quick.
Is one ring, but I designed it with Stephen Webster to be two: the emerald, her birthstone, and the diamond, my birthstone, set on two magnetic bands of thorns that draw together as two halves of the same soul, forming the obscure heart that is our love.
Yeah, and in a new interview with Vogue, he revealed more details about those bands of thorns, explaining the concept is that the ring can come apart to make two rings. When it's together, it's held in place by a magnet, so you see how it snaps together, and then it forms an obscure heart. And you see this right here, the bands are actually thorns, so if she tries to take it off, it hurts.
And the reasoning behind that decision, love is pain. Now,
wow, right? Okay, love. I got to put it up on the screen again here, Kristina, because it's hard to even believe.
After
Machine Gun basically says, love is pain. So basically, if you take the ring off, it hurts.
Yeah.
And the reason why he says this is love is pain. And look, just to we did not interview him or ask for a quote, so we're just taking what is reported here. So maybe that was not the intention. I want to throw that out, but wow.
Well, he is quoted in the Vogue interview of saying, after all, love is pain. And to me, this reeks of, some type of ownership, but it really reeks of obsession. And I can tell you, obsession is not love. All right. It is not love. And I don't know if it will sell any tickets, but I'd sure like to see a entertainment movie put out about what, true love feels like. I think we got a little closer to it in the animated series Frozen, where it was actually the sisterly love, because true love is not about pain. It is about being with and growing your life together. And maybe it doesn't have that angsty, view that we're looking for, but this is what I grew up on. And I know many, many people who come into recovery that this is what they're using as their model for romantic love. And I can tell you, it never works out. That come here, stay away game, that passion is what they want to call it. I call it obsession. These are very dangerous things to think about. And for people who are getting into romantic relationships, it's why whenever that romantic relationship, in my opinion, dies down, then all of a sudden there's a big fight and then there's a big comeback together because they're re-upping the ante to keep playing that dynamic. It's not at all the kind of love that I'm looking for.
Yeah, you mentioned the you mentioned the whole thing about the love is pain and the you complete me with Jerry Maguire. And this is the thing I was going to say about this, because when I saw this, I said, wow, that is a relationship that is going to be super volatile, because the expectations there, right? The expectations that somehow, and I started to kind of think about this a little bit. I was like, all right, if you're thinking that love is pain, that means that you grew up with the expectation of seeing a lot of chaos, and then interpreting this, look, the only way that somebody's going to love me, or what love really looks like, is dysfunction. That's not love, that's dysfunction, right? I mean, true. That's just not at all anywhere close to love.
I hurt you because I love you. Don't you know this is hurting me more than it's hurting you? I mean, these are the things, in all fairness, that probably our parents were raised with the same kind of, situation where they were told, I'm hurting you because I'm loving you, because I love you. And it's just not that truth. And what it does is it creates a disconnect in us as children, because all children believe that things are their faults. We're ego-centered because we have to be, and we cannot possibly believe that our caregiver is wrong. So we start putting that formula in, love is pain, and that is not true. And it takes time to unravel that, but we need better examples. And look, I wish them the best. I don't want anything to be, I don't want to say, they can't work out or they can work out. I just know that formula, that opposites attract, or finding the person in the room who's the most difficult, and then that storyline of, okay, I turned you around, so I must be worthy of something, is codependency. And it's trying to work out our past with our present. Very, very difficult.
And we see this a ton, guys. We see, don't we, Kristina? We see this in early recovery. One of the things that they say is do not date in early recovery. Like, that's a big 12-step thing, right? Because people are like, don't date in early recovery because you're going to attract what you really ultimately don't want, right? Right. You're going to attract dysfunction because you are dysfunction. And so many people say no.
Oh, yeah.
I know better. I'm going to do better. I was pretty good in very early recovery. I was pretty good.
Oh,
but I got about 6 months into it, and I was like, forget it. I know better. Yeah,
I wasn't good. I wasn't. I hate to even judge it as moral, but I definitely did not take the suggestion of staying away from a serious relationship in the first year. And, I learned from it, so I don't call anything a failure or a mistake. But I think that my life would have been a lot easier if I had taken the time to focus on myself and really try to work out where the love comes from, and nobody could show up in a relationship and have somebody else complete them. They have to. Now, you could grow together, but there has to be a agreement that that's what you're doing. You're each going to work on yourself separately, and you're going to work on the relationship, but it is nobody else's responsibility to make you happy.
Well, one of the things when we were talking about this episode, we said, hey, you know what? We've got to address this whole thing about relationships in recovery, because as you go through recovery, you realize that it's all about relationships, right?
Right.
Not just romantic relationships, by the way. I mean, I know it's Valentine's Day. I know that that's going on, but it's not just romantic relationships. It's all relationships, right?
It really is.
All relationships.
We can all be spiritual in a cave, right? We can all not lose our temper if nobody's around us, but that isn't really living. You don't know how much recovery you have or what you need to work on until you bump up against another human and you have to show up. And I wasn't taught about self-love. In fact, quite the opposite. And so my heart, I'm very compassionate to people who show up. But if you're pointing the finger at somebody or seeking lower companionship or trying to be the better one in the relationship, you need to work on stuff because it's delusional. It's
Yeah.
completely
And you
delusional.
know what? This is interesting because there's so many people that are in recovery that are listening to this. Look, they might not listen to it today. You know, they might download this a month from now on iTunes and listen to this episode. But you will find the longer in recovery, many people go out. Two issues that I see a lot of guys go out on, Kristina. It is dating,
Yes.
right? It's romantic relationships,
Right.
and it is money.
Absolutely.
Those two things, and to be honest, the money I think is second. It's
Yes.
the romantic. You know, you see people come in, they get cleaned up, they do 6 months, they do a year, they actually have a good program, skating along. They end up in a relationship, especially a non-healthy relationship. It just implodes. They hit the wall, out drinking or using drugs again.
Absolutely. It's slippery. And there's a reason why everyone is warned against it. It's very, very slippery. You have got to heal yourself before you can walk into another place. It's not fair to the other person to show up like that. And who we are going to attract are the people that remind us of our wounding. So everybody take time, right? Take time, work on yourself. Self-care is a loving action toward your partner. And that is something to remember. How do you promote more love? Start with promoting the love that you have for yourself.
Well, you just mentioned the whole, you know, we're talking about Machine Gun Kelly because look, he's famous, right?
Right.
He's in the news or whatever. And I'm not picking on Machine Gun Kelly because I'm sure he's a nice guy. You know, I don't know Machine Gun Kelly, but I will tell you this. I have seen this in the rooms so many times. I've seen this with people I've either worked with or friends. What happens is they don't work on their own stuff, right? And they go along and then they decide, oh my gosh, the relationship is going to fix me. And they run into the relationship just like the job and money is going to fix me. The car is going to fix me. And then at the end of it, they realize it's like, oh no, none of this fit me. So there's this, you know, there's this hangover when you find out that, quote, they don't complete you.
Yeah,
right.
Do the best you can not to take a hostage with you while you're on that route. And that's what you would call another person in your relationship. If you are in a relationship with, don't send them on the same journey as you. Let them work on them. You work on you. It will be better.
Well, that's what you were saying in this room that I was in with you in Clubhouse. We were doing a recovered life room about codependency. You were talking about the whole thing about people not even being attracted in recovery to healthy relationships. And you gave this great example that when you were back in early recovery and dating, that, you know, about how unattractive that was to you.
Yes,
somebody that would actually do it right.
Yeah, my first date, very nice man, you know, successful and happy. And I still remember his smile. I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. And he took me out to a lovely place and walked around, and he wanted to do a carriage ride, which was a little over the top for me. But I had a visceral response like, gross. No, I don't. Why are you being so nice to me? You know, ooh. And I ended up going out with somebody who wasn't nearly as far along in his recovery or his mindset. And I think about that. And every relationship where somebody showed up for me that was maybe a little on the healthier side, I sabotaged. I didn't even recognize it. It was too scary. And I didn't believe that was what love was, or even high regard.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that this is very, very common in recovery, you know, and I think as the journey goes on, the more that you work on yourself, the more that starts to unfold. You know, we talk a lot about doing inventories too. And, you know, I don't know if you've done that. I've done that where you write just even for friendships too. And I think that this is even good. I did this a while ago because, you know, hey, like with COVID, I don't know about you, but after now going through this COVID thing and being locked in, I feel like this is like the 15th year that we've been locked in, right? I feel that all of my things that I used to do, the casual stuff, especially recovery stuff, where we'd meet somebody for fellowship or we'd go do something, right? Or we'd like just hang out or do a service commitment. that's all gone. So I had to kind of get pen to paper and say, you know what? Hey, I'm going to have to reinvent how I do friendships if everybody's on quarantine in LA forever, right?
Right.
I'm going to have to reinvent that.
Right. And I think that there's a gift in that, because as you continue to recover in your life, things that used to interest you may not. It's not a judgment on people being at a certain place in their life. As you grow, that's going to, be important that you have people around you that like some of the same things you like now. And I think that people struggle with letting go of friendships or hanging out with other people as much. And this was a really big clearing about what matters and how much you want to connect, and how much time are you going to allow yourself to be distracted by the doings or the perfectionism, and what are you going to do to actually have a deep relationship. We don't, prior to COVID, I know a lot of people, it was really easy to accidentally become friends. It was really easy to have activity in your life that maybe wasn't serving you or helping you have a better recovery program. But now we know, like, this has to happen. And I believe that drive for connection has made some really great places like the Recovered Life for people to get together and say, I want to be serious about my recovery. I want to have fun in my recovery, but mostly I want to go deep in my recovery.
Yeah, it really is. And I think, look, I always say that the graduate school of addiction recovery is ACOA.
Yes.
It is working on relationships. It's understanding the patterns
right.
that are going on in your life, right?
Yep.
The patterns that keep repeating over and over and over. And, look, the whole thing, and, I just want to end this whole topic with relationships with this expectations thing.
Yes.
This Valentine's Day, it was funny because on the Clubhouse room this morning, a guy shared about how men had way more expectations.
Right.
And it was interesting how the women in the room commented on that. At first, I think there was a pushback. No, women have much more. But then I think as it kind of went on, women were starting to kind of agree. It's like, wow, there's a lot of unrealistic expectations.
True. And
with both sides, with everybody, but
with
especially
everybody.
with men.
Yes, with everybody. And I thought that was very interesting perspective that was shared this morning. It was such a good conversation. And I love the idea that we're not going to make it up. It's just like Mother's Day. We're not going to make up our relationship with our mother by taking her to brunch on Mother's Day. We're not going to make up any kind of strife or struggle you have in your relationship by doing one act. And a lot of women were really quick to say, I don't really expect that much. I'd much rather have the loving acts all the rest of the year. It's really important that I have a true partnership, and taking out, who is that for anyway? The restaurants are busy. It's supposed to be just the two of you. It's on a Monday. Who does that really work for? I'd much rather have my husband pull out a weekend that is around our anniversary, let's say, because that's about us, and really letting us do what we like to do, not going out to dinner, not posting it on Instagram, not comparing my flowers to your flowers, just truly enjoying it.
Keep the conversation going. Join Recovered Life, a community of like-minded people who are looking to live their best recovered lives. Membership is free, and you can apply at recoveredlife.us.